आवाज ठीक है? आप स्टार्ट करो। Hello everyone, a very good morning to all dear students. Am I audible, visible? Hello बच्चों, सबको ज्वाइन है। कल जाके कुछ रिवीजन हुआ, थोड़ा बहुत देखा, समझ में आया? एनी डाउट? टाइम ही नहीं मिला मैडम, सोते ही रह गए, आप सीधा सुबह उठा। अच्छा, वो तो एक ही बात है, जाओ कि नहीं जाओ एक ही बात है। वो तो कॉलेज में पढ़ाई होती है, इतना भारी भयंकर काम, प्रेजेंटेशन, प्रोजेक्ट। हाँ हाँ। नहीं नहीं, जो ये थर्ड से फोर्थ में जो ट्रांजिशन हुआ है ना, ये अभी भी चल रहा है। कुछ स्टेट्स में तो अभी भी फर्टिलिटी रेट हाई है ना, उसी की वजह से ये मोमेंटम बना हुआ है ना? वरना तो डिक्लाइन हो जाना चाहिए था। 1.9 तो कम हो गया ना फर्टिलिटी। 12% पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट डिकेडल बहुत ज्यादा हुआ, आप समझ रहे हो? उसका कारण यही है, मोमेंटम इन फ्यू स्टेट्स। थर्ड में इसलिए नहीं बोल रहे क्योंकि आपने देखा 1981 से इट इज कंटिन्यूसली डिक्लाइनिंग, है ना? इन एनी अदर, सी देयर आर टू कंडीशंस। फर्स्ट इज इन इंडिया वी हैव एब्सोल्यूट नंबर ऑफ लार्ज पॉपुलेशन, that is one factor. That is momentum also, because we have largest population, na? And second is fertility is still high in some of the states. Had this been the case of any other country, the population rates would have significantly declined, growth rate, है ना? हम नहीं ऐसे नहीं बोलते, हम ये बोलते हैं वी आर ट्रांजिशनिंग फ्रॉम थर्ड टू फोर्थ। ओके, फोर्थ में होता तो फिर तो हमारा ग्रोथ रेट बिल्कुल सिग्निफिकेंटली डिक्लाइन हो जाता है, ठीक है? बट बिकॉज फर्टिलिटी रेट्स हैव डिक्लाइन सिग्निफिकेंटली इन द पास्ट 3-4 years, सो वी आर सेइंग दैट वी आर ट्रांजिशनिंग टुवर्ड्स स्टेज 4। एंड सी, केरला, तमिलनाडु, बहुत सारे स्टेट्स हैं जहाँ तो फर्टिलिटी बहुत ही कम हो गया, है ना? ये तो यूपी बिहार का सारा कंट्रीब्यूशन है ना? तो फिर तो इसी के कारण से जो है इतना ग्रोथ रेट है, वरना बहुत कम हो गया होता। ओके, गुड मॉर्निंग बच्चों, गुड मॉर्निंग मयंक, गुड मॉर्निंग अर्शी, गुड मॉर्निंग कीर्ति, सूर्या, एवरीवन। Am I audible, visible? Everything is fine. Were you able to revise the concepts? Any problem, any issues? Revision कर रहे हो बच्चों? Any doubts or should I start? Should we continue? Those students who are in the online mode as well, you can also submit your summaries. फिर आप एक साथ देते हो बहुत सारी summary, वो मेरे लिए चेक करना बड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है। आप लोग सैटरडे संडे का वेट करते हो और फिर एकदम पूरी बुक लिख के दे देते हो, है ना? ऐसे नहीं करना। छोटी छोटी 15 पेज की बुक आ जाती है सबकी। हर रोज थोड़ा सा समरीज बनाओ, ओके, सो दैट आई कैन go through that summary each and every day. Otherwise it is difficult for me to go on the weekends through all these summaries. एक साथ मत भेजना, ठीक है? जो बना रहे हो वो हर रोज भेजते रहो। ओके, गुड मॉर्निंग एलिशिया, गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन, ठीक है? You can just submit your summaries online on a daily basis. You already have that geography option number, उसी पे सबमिट कर दो। जो बच्चे ऑनलाइन है, ऑफलाइन वाले यही दिखा दिया करो। ओके, तो कल क्या पढ़ा था हमने? लेट्स क्विकली रिवाइज। व्हाट डिड वी स्टडी yesterday? Malthus in theory. What was the idea briefly he said about? हाँ, पर क्या अप्रोच थी, क्या बोल रहे हैं वो? व्हाट इज हिज कंसर्न? एक लाइन में अगर हम बोले व्हाट इज हिज कंसर्न इज दैट population growth is geometric, whereas the food resources growth is linear, arithmetic. Okay, very good. Okay, is this concept valid today? Limitedly. What is his major applicability in the contemporary scenario? हम क्यों कहेंगे कि Malthus is applicable? Because limited resources. Very good. Then second concept that we studied was DTT, demographic transition theory, and the transition is happening in stages as per the economic development. Very good. So as per the economic development, there is also demographic transition. Very good. Okay, so demographic transition also happens as per the economic development, which happens in stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is also anticipated fifth stage. So what is the fifth stage? Fifth stage is when there is negative population growth. Very good. Negative population growth, है ना? Birth rate is even less than the death rate. Any countries which are now in the stage 5? Yes, China, है ना, चाइना केस से हमने पढ़ा था, ठीक है. पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ ऑफ इंडिया, दैट इज व्हाट वी हैड स्टडीड इन द लास्ट क्लास. ओके, नाउ सी, these are some important aspects of population geography. We will hold it here. I'll also teach you migration, because each and every year I've seen one question on migration also these days, but they integrate migration with settlement geography. Okay, population geography is not separate from settlement geography, both of them are interrelated. So now we'll start with settlement geography. We'll study some of the aspects of settlement geography, then I also teach you migration, then we will interlink that. Okay, so write down settlements geography. What is our understanding on settlements? What are settlements? What are settlements? Pattern of living, pattern होता है. Okay, there is some pattern of living. What else? सेटलमेंट्स क्या होते हैं? वो जो छोटे छोटे बॉक्स के 10x4 वाले नहीं जिसमें तुम रहते हो, है ना, वो सेटलमेंट नहीं है. 10x12 का यही है मैम हमारा सेटलमेंट. वेयर पॉपुलेशन इज स्टेबल. स्टेबल. और क्या होता है? विद रिसोर्सेज. और क्या होता है सेटलमेंट्स? Anything else you want to add in settlement? What are settlements? What is your idea on settlements? What are settlements? जहाँ घर होते हैं वही सेटलमेंट है. जहाँ मेरा घर है वही सेटलमेंट है. एडेप्टेशंस एट अ पर्टिकुलर प्लेस, ये थोड़ी और हाई लेवल की बात है. एडेप्टेशंस. सो सेटलमेंट्स कैन बी एनीवेयर. अब हम पॉसिबिलिज्म हम जानते हैं तो आई नो पॉसिबिलिज्म, सो एडॉप्टेशन हो सकता है. ठीक है, वेरी गुड. और कुछ सेटलमेंट से रिलेटेड एस्पेक्ट कुछ समझ में आ रहा है? रिसोर्सेज में, हाँ ठीक है, रिसोर्स, फूड, वाटर, जहाँ होगा वहीं सेटलमेंट होंगे. राइट. एनीथिंग एल्स? नाउ सी, योर आइडिया इज population, okay, where they are located, people they are located stably in a location, that is settlement. That is what our idea is. But apart from that, there can be other type of settlements as well. Okay, it's not necessary that you have to reside in a particular place only, in a particular area only. They would be permanent settlements. Okay, so there are other type of settlements as well. Okay, हाँ वो तो function हो गया. Okay, that is the function associated with the settlement. We'll try to understand that, but basically broadly your idea is where there is a population, जहाँ लोग reside करते हैं, where there is a population there, that you call as settlement. Right, that is your idea. Let's try to understand the broader perspective on settlements. So settlement geography, first write down definition. Write down settlement geography. Settlement geography is the study of human settlements. Is the study of human settlements. Yes, where social and economic activity happens. Very good, Mayank. Settlements, comfortable establishment. Comfort होना चाहिए, वो वाला नहीं जिसमें हम रह रहे हैं अभी, यहाँ है ना. Comfortable, luxurious settlements होने चाहिए. Okay, is study of human settlements, including their spatial distribution. Their spatial distribution. Okay, so how are the settlements distributed spatially? Spatial, regional, spatial distribution. Okay, comma, patterns, very important, underline patterns, comma, patterns, and the factors that influence their development, and the factors that influence their development. Okay, such as environmental, social and economic conditions. Environmental, social and economic conditions. Okay. So in settlement geography, we are concerned with the study of human settlements and their spatial distribution. Okay, how the settlements are distributed, spatial distribution, yaad aa raha hai term spatial distribution? Yes. Okay, and their spatial distribution and patterns. Not all settlements have the same pattern. There can be different type of patterns. Okay, some settlements can be closely packed. For example, in urban areas, the houses, they are built very near to each other because the land prices are very high. In some areas, they can be scattered. So this is one type of pattern. Yes, there can be certain shape also. Okay, there can be a definite pattern, circular, rectangular, etc., or it can be a bit scattered. So there can be different patterns. Okay, and the factors that they influencing their development, there are certain factors which are responsible for the development of settlements. Settlements are not random. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है random? No. Random settlements can also be there when there is random and unsustainable haphazard urbanization. Then that can lead to the outgrowth of the cities. But there is a certain pattern, there are certain factors which are associated with the development of settlements. They can be either economic, social, or environmental conditions. So hilly areas, okay, people, they're not located very close to each other. There can be scattered settlements like that. So there are certain factors also which are responsible for the development of the pattern of the settlements. This is clear. This is the broad idea around settlements geography. Next point, write down. Okay, there are different factors which are responsible for, there are different factors which are responsible for location of factors, location of settlements, like resources. Okay, resources like availability of food resources, water resources, okay, extensive patches of land, mineral resources, okay, common development of transportation routes, communication lines, transportation routes, communication lines, etc. Transportation routes, communication lines, etc. Okay. Like we had studied about the population. Population is not evenly distributed. Similarly, settlements also. Why there are settlements in certain areas, whereas there is lack of settlements in other areas? Why? Because of availability of resources, okay, minerals, etc. And then there can be transportation routes. Whenever there is proper connectivity, you would want to reside near to that transportation route. जहाँ जहाँ मेट्रो चली गई वहाँ पे there is dispersal of population, isn't it so? Yes. So hence there can be transportation routes, communication lines, because of which also there is dispersal of population, and hence it leads to the development of settlements, right? Okay, so write down next. Settlements can be of two types. Settlements can be of two types: temporary or permanent. Temporary or permanent. Okay, temporary or permanent. So it is always not necessarily temporary, permanent. It can be temporary also. Okay, we'll come to that. First of all, let's understand how do we describe a settlement. Okay, how do we basically classify a settlement? Your idea is settlement can be a very big settlement or small settlement. That is our broader idea. But there are many ways by which we can classify the settlements. Okay, so write down classification. How do we classify? How do we describe them? Classification. Okay. Classification basis of the settlements. Classification basis of the settlements. Okay. First is on the basis of area. First is on the basis of area. Simple. Okay. Is the settlement small or is the settlement large? So on the basis of the area encompassing the settlement, we can classify it. Very simple. Okay. On the basis of area. Okay. Second, on the basis of site. On the basis of site. Okay. Now what do we mean by site? Site is the actual location where the settlement is built. Okay. So settlement is in Delhi. settlement is in Himachal, settlement is in Uttarakhand. Okay, so actual location where the settlement is built. Write down actual location where the settlement is built. So where is the site? Third, on the basis of population. On the basis of population. Okay. So what is the total population of that particular settlement? Okay. The area can be large, but the population can be less. Okay. So on the basis of population, we can also describe that settlement. Okay. On the basis of total population, absolute population. Okay. So size of population. Fourth function. Fourth function. Now function is the main activity which is being performed in that settlement. Okay. So for example, we are classifying the rural areas. Okay. On the basis of function. So in the rural areas, there can be certain rural areas where the main economic activity is fishing. Okay. So here the function is fishing. Okay. There are certain other rural areas where there can be prominently agricultural activities which are being pursued. So agriculture. In urban areas, the main function would be industries, services. Okay. So function, write down. It relates to the main economic activity. The main economic activity associated with the settlement. Associated with the settlement. Okay. Fifth situation. Okay. Now the settlement is located here. So this becomes the site. Okay. But it is also having a surrounding environment, nearby environment. So when we talk about situation, it means in which situation it is located. Is it situated in an area where there are nearby other urban settlements which are very closely packed? Then this would be a settlement which is situated in an urban area. Okay. Or if it is situated in a hilly area, so what would be the situation? The surrounding would be hilly area, hilly tracts, maybe some rivers, some mountain passes, etc. So situation would be the environment around that particular settlement. Okay. Nahi clear hua? Okay. So the settlement is located here. Okay. So this is the site, but there is also an environment around it. Okay. So for example, the settlement can be in an environment of the desert area, in an environment of the hilly area, okay, in an environment of the urban area. So what is the surrounding environment here? In the desert area, it is the desert landscape, desert landform. Okay. In a hilly area, what will encompass the surrounding environment? There will be hilly area, hills होंगे, हो सकता है high mountain passes हो, there can be some rivers, etc. So that is the surrounding environment. So what is the situation? Situation is hilly area. In the urban area, the settlement is in a situation of urban settlements. Okay, because there are closed urban settlements encompassing the nearby environment. So what is the situation in which the settlement is located? Clear ho gaya? Okay. So write down. It means the surrounding environment, for example landforms, common nearby buildings. Okay. Nearby buildings, industries, etc. So just draw it like this. So this is a settlement. This can be hilly area. So this is hill area situation. Okay. Sixth, shape. On the basis of shape. Shape is simple. What type of shape has emerged? Okay, it can be circular, it can be rectangular, it can be scattered, etc. So what type of shape has emerged of that particular settlement? So write down, it means the pattern or the settlement, pattern of the settlement. Okay, for example, circular pattern, rectangular pattern, etc. Example, circular pattern, rectangular pattern, etc. Okay, now write down what are the types. What are the types of settlements? Okay, what are the types of the settlements? Okay, so type of the settlements, you can draw this schematic. First are the permanent settlements and second are the temporary settlements. First are the permanent settlements. You will draw as I will speak. First are the permanent settlements and second are the temporary settlements. Permanent settlements and second are the temporary settlement. Simple as the name is telling us, permanent settlement would be the settlement which are permanent, and temporary would be where we are moving from one place to another. Okay, where we are moving from one place to another. It is nomadic ways of living. Okay, so I am just living in a tent, I am just carrying my tent, I am moving from one place to another, है ना. 12,000 रुपये नहीं दे पा रहे किराया, यहीं टेंट लगा लिया अग्रवाल स्वीट के पास, है ना. फिर अगले दिन पता लगा यहीं से सब बुरिया बिस्तर उठा दिया, है ना. अब वो कौन से लैंडस्केप में होगा पढ़ेंगे, बट टेम्पररी क्या है, एक टेंट लगा दिया अग्रवाल के बाहर, फिर एक लगा दिया करोलबाग मेट्रो स्टेशन के बाहर, ये क्या हो गया, टेम्पररी सेटलमेंट. ठीक है. परमानेंट, brick and mortar buildings. Okay, permanently they are settled here. Okay, now permanent can be further classified into urban and rural. Write down 1A, 1B. Urban settlements, rural settlements. Okay, urban settlements, rural settlements. Now write down under urban settlements. So what are urban settlements? On the basis of the economic activities. Okay, so urban settlements are those settlements where there is dominance of the secondary and the tertiary economic activities. Okay, so write down urban areas, urban settlements. Okay, are those where there is dominance of secondary and tertiary activities. Secondary and tertiary activities, economic activities. Okay. सेकेंडरी एंड टर्शरी एक्टिविटीज. अब अर्बन एरिया में थोड़ी फिशिंग करेंगे, है कि नहीं, सिंपल सी बात है. रूरल एरियाज विच हैव डोमिनेंस ऑफ द प्राइमरी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज. रूरल सेटलमेंट्स आर, 1B लिखा ना, यहाँ इसके नीचे लिख लो रूरल सेटलमेंट्स. ठीक है, दोज विच आर एंगेज्ड इन प्राइमरी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज. ओके, एग्रीकल्चर, फिशिंग, primary economic activities. Okay, now rural can be compact or scattered. Rural can be compact or scattered. Okay, rural settlements can be either compact or either scattered. Urban areas would be necessarily compact. Because of high land prices, there is very high density of population in urban areas. The density can be variable, but they would be compact only. Okay, in the rural areas, the land prices are low. So hence, they can be scattered or can be compact. When they are compact, there will emerge certain type of patterns of the rural settlements. So rural areas, because the land prices are less, okay, and because also of the topography, Topography is always not flat plain land, isn't it so? There can be hilly areas, very high altitude areas. So we can also have scattered population. And in some rural areas, like around Bihar, around West Bengal, you know, in these rural areas, the population density can be higher. So there can emerge patterns of the settlements. But in the urban areas, because the land prices are higher, so it would be necessarily compact only. But the density of population can be variable. This is clear to us. Simple, right? Now, first of all, let's understand this temporary settlements. Then we will take the individual discussion one by one. First, write down temporary settlement. Temporary settlement. Temporary settlements. Now, try to understand the interlinkages that we are developing and you will understand how UPSC is asking questions. कैसे पूछ लेते हैं आपको? एक स्कीमेटिक होगा आपके NCERT में, वहीं से क्वेश्चन आ जाता है कि नहीं? बिल्कुल आता है. ठीक है, temporary settlements. Now see, when we are talking about temporary settlement, what do we mean? We mean that people are residing in those settlements which are movable basically. They are moving from one place to another. Simple. They are residing in temporary settlements like tents. Okay. Now, these type of settlements, why would they emerge in first place? That is the question. Why would they emerge? Geographical phenomena like? Very good. है ना? Now see, in high altitude areas, what type of climate is there? The climate is very harsh. For entire 6 months, there can be complete snowfall. There are certain areas. Are you aware of certain areas? पता है ऐसे areas कहाँ पे है? इंडिया में रुको अभी. साइबेरिया में मत टेंट लगाओ तुम. हाँ, लद्दाख के आसपास है ना, हिमाचल के आसपास, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में भी है ना, हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड एरियाज. ठीक है, सो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में, नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न हिमालयस रीजन, ओके, देर आर सर्टेन एरियाज विच आर हैविंग वेरी हार्श क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस फॉर एंटायर 6 months. It is not possible for the tribal population to be located in such high altitude areas. So what they have to do? They have to migrate to downhill areas. ठीक है, from high altitude areas to लो लैंग एरियाज. ठीक है, वहां से उनको माइग्रेट करना पड़ता है फॉर 6 months. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ट्रांसह्यूमन्स. Yes, because the economic activities, the scope of economic activities is limited there, so they have to pursue the economic activities which are viable there only. Okay, so from high altitude areas they have to migrate to low altitude areas. जरूरत क्या है? नहीं, वो स्लम्स हो गए ना, इमरजेंस ऑफ स्लम्स हो गया, इमरजेंस ऑफ स्लम्स इन अर्बन एरिया हो गया. Transhumans is a very different economic activity, very different ways of living, you can say. I'll tell you, I'll explain you, okay, what it is. So in high altitude areas, they are residing in the 6 summer months. Okay, but they can always move their tents between this region. Okay, they are first of all located in very high altitude areas with the beginning of spring, okay, summer season. For 6 months they will be residing here. They will also pursue some bit of agriculture, barley etc. They can sow there, okay, because length of growing period is shorter there, right? They can only do cultivation for 3-4 months, drier crops, very high altitude areas, right? Okay, but mainly they are into herding of sheep, goats, yaks etc. Okay, so that is why this is pastoralism and nomadic pastoralism. And this is proper migration for 6 months. Then in winters they would migrate here. Okay, so their ways of living, they are very intricately, they are linked to this entire landscape and the economic activity they are pursuing, and their ways of living is completely temporary. Okay, there's settlements which are made of the wool of yak. Okay, these are high altitude cold areas, so the tents are made of yak wool. Okay, and inside their settlement itself they have kept everything which is required. Okay, so these are temporary settlement. जो आप बोल रहे हो ना, वो तो टेंट लगा के यहाँ पे 2 दिन रह लिया तो वो ट्रांसफॉर्मेंस नहीं हो गया. ओके, वो तो एक से दूसरी जगह हम इसलिए रह रहे हैं, हमारे पास कोई घर नहीं है. इनके पास में दिस इज योर देयर वेज ऑफ लिविंग. ओके, this is necessity. Okay, and they have been living like this from past so many centuries. Okay, this entire area. So this is called as transhumans. Don't write anything. Okay, this is called as transhumans. That is seasonal migration from high altitude to low altitude and then to high altitude. This is called as transhumans. This is nomadic pastoralism. This is temporary settlements. Okay, so you can see here. ये दिख रहा है आपको? This is the landscape of Ladakh. So these are their tents, okay, which is made of yak wool, and they carry this seasonally. और ये छोटा मोटा टेंट नहीं है जो आपका ब्लू कलर का लगा होता है ना, ये हवा से अभी उड़ जाएगा, ये वैसा नहीं है. ठीक है, ये बहुत मजबूत होता है क्योंकि इसमें एंटायर फैमिलीज आर रिसाइडिंग. Even members up to 50 members can reside inside this tent. Okay, these type of settlements, they emerge seasonally along the different altitudes. Okay, this is their economic sustenance, that is herding of sheep, goats, yaks, etc. Okay, and this is the kind of the surrounding environment situation of the settlement. So this is the situation of the settlements which emerges in such high altitude areas. Okay, so there are different tribes, you must have heard about them. Gaddis सुना है? गद्दीज नाम सुना होगा, ट्राइब्स का थोड़ा नहीं सुना है. गद्दीज, गुज्जर्स, बकरवाल्स, है ना, चांगपा ट्राइब्स. सो दे आर दी चांगपा ट्राइब्स. दे आर दी चांगपा ट्राइब्स इन लद्दाख. दे आर दी चांगपा ट्राइब्स. प्रीवियसली यूपीएससी हैड आस्क्ड पीवाईक्यू, पूछा हुआ क्वेश्चन है ये प्रीलिम्स में, वेयर डू चांगपास लिव, पूछा हुआ क्वेश्चन है ये. ठीक है, तो ऐसे क्वेश्चंस बनते हैं इंटर रिलेशनशिप करके. ओके, सो दीज आर दी okay, ways of living of Changpas who are living in the high altitude areas of Ladakh. Changpas are in Ladakh. Gaddis, Gujjars, Bakarwals, they are spread across Jammu Kashmir, parts of Jammu Kashmir, parts of even Himachal. You will also find them in parts of maybe Uttarakhand also, but mostly around Jammu Kashmir and Himachal. Okay, Gaddis, Bakarwals around Jammu Kashmir. Okay, high altitude areas, they are migrating. So these are the cold deserts. अभी न्यूज में भी था ये एरिया कोल्ड डेजर्ट बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व था ना कि नहीं था? यस, है ना. बट दिस ऑल्सो विल हैपन इन द अदर एरियाज, हॉट एरियाज, हॉट डेजर्ट्स. ओके, राजस्थान, गुजरात, दैट बेल्ट, that is also transhumans. They also do seasonal migration, they keep on migrating. So these are the temporary settlements which emerge. क्लियर हो गया? ठीक है, ठीक है. टेम्पररी सेटलमेंट में कुछ पॉइंट्स लिख लेते हैं. These settlements are not permanent settlements, as they are movable, ठीक है, as they are movable. Such settlements emerge due to harsh terrain, and surrounding topography. ठीक है, for example in high altitude cold desert areas, for example in high altitude cold desert areas, comma hot deserts, comma maybe in forest areas. Okay, फॉरेस्ट एरियाज, बहुत हेवी रेनफॉल हो सकता है, तब नहीं रह सकते 3-4 महीने, ऐसा हो सकता है. ठीक है, प्राइमरी एक्टिविटी इज प्राइमरी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज प्राइमरी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी इज nomadic herding and seasonal agriculture. ठीक है, एंड सीजनल एग्रीकल्चर. स्टार मार्क करके लिखो. द सीजनल माइग्रेशन the seasonal migration between high altitude and low altitude, between high altitude and low altitude, hilly areas, hilly areas is called as transhumans, is called as transhumans. Transhumans, ठीक है, transhumans. It is done by nomadic pastoralist. It is done by nomadic pastoralist. See, along with their livestock. Along with their livestock seasonally. With their livestock seasonally. Along with their livestock seasonally. ठीक है. सो लाइफ स्टॉक्स के साथ सीजनल माइग्रेशन है, वो पूरा लाइफ स्टॉक लेके माइग्रेट करते हैं सीजनली. ठीक है. सो दैट इज ट्रांसह्यूमन्स. समझ में आ गया. ओके. राइट डाउन फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन लद्दाख बाई चांगपास. लद्दाख बाई चांगपास. ओके. एक छोटा सा मैप बनाओ, छोटा सा मैप बनाओ, रफ आउटलाइन मैप. ऐसे मैप बनाओ छोटा सा. मेंशन ले. पैंगोंग लेक. सोमोरेरी. ओके. Puga Valley. So this is Leh. Okay. Durbuk, Pangong Lake, Chumatang, हानले. हानले बहुत न्यूज में रहा है पीछे 2 साल से. ऑब्जर्वेटरी है ना हानले में. ठीक है. पूगा वैली, सोमोरेरी लेक. ठीक है. पूगा वैली, सोमोरेरी. So transhumance happens like this. Okay. From Pangong, from Somoreri, from Hanle, they move towards Chumatang and another place here, Shakti. This is the route of transhumance, seasonal transhumance. Okay. In summers, they would be located somewhere around Somoreri, Hanle, Pangong, etc. Okay. And a very prized possession comes from this location, that is Pashmina wool. Pashmina wool suna hai? Pashmina is a very prized possession. Okay, Pashmina wool. So they get from the livestock, that is Pashmina wool. वो यही मिलता है इंडिया में सिर्फ. Okay, Pashmina wool. चांगरा गोट्स होते हैं, उनको रियर करते हैं, चांगरा गोट्स, फ्रॉम विच दे गेट द पश्मीना वूल. पश्मीना वूल इज अ वेरी प्राइज्ड कमोडिटी. ओके. जो आपका नॉर्मल वूल होता है उससे आई थिंक 50-60 टाइम्स उसका प्राइस होगा. इट इज वेरी लाइट वेट एंड वेरी वार्म. दैट इज द रीजन. ओके. पश्मीना वूल. So you can just mention it here, pashmina wool. ठीक. Okay. इस सब के ऊपर कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट्री वगैरह देखा है कभी? ये वेज ऑफ लिविंग के बारे में पता है कुछ? पता है थोड़ा बहुत? देखा होगा कभी ना कभी तो, थोड़ा बहुत पता होगा। नहीं, नहीं पता है। ये सब फोटो मैंने लिया है, सच में मैंने लिया है, नहीं सच में लिया है। आई हैव बीन टू ऑल दीज विलेजेस। ये बस मैं पीछे छुप गई हूँ, ये आगे वाला दिखा दिया है मैंने। आई हैव बीन टू ऑल दीज विलेजेस, टू रिमोट एरिया। हाँ हाँ, सब फोटोज हमने लिया है। ये वहाँ के जो लोकल ट्राइब्स होते हैं ना, ये उनके ड्रेसेस है, ये उनका ड्रेस होता है। ये स्पेशल जैसे दिख रहा है ना, ये दिखने में कैसा लग रहा है, ये सस्ता सा होगा, ये करोड़ में इसका वैल्यू है। दिस इज टर्कॉइज, सो दिस इज इन करोड़, दिस वैल्यू वुड बी इन करोड़। ये बहुत अब कम लोगों के पास मिलता है। ये इनका हेड ड्रेस होता है, दे वेयर ड्यूरिंग स्पेशल फंक्शंस, विलेज में जब कुछ मैरिजेस वगैरह होते हैं, उनके लामा आते हैं, ऐसा है ना। तो ये बहुत प्राइस कमोडिटीज है इनके। इनके वेज ऑफ लाइफ इज वेरी डिफरेंट, यू कैनॉट इमेजिन what we are talking about. The ways of living here and the ways of living there is completely different. This is nearby Pangong. Okay, so this is the area nearby Pangong. All these areas are very high altitude areas, 13,000, 14,000, 15,000 feet, like that, है ना। चलो, जब क्या करवा दो, तुम पहले इंटरव्यू निकालो, ठीक है। प्रीलिम्स निकल नहीं रहा है। अरे वो चोरी करके भागोगे कहाँ तुम, 200 किलोमीटर तक तो तुम्हें कोई दिखेगा नहीं वहां पे। बेचारा चोर चोरी करके भागेगा कहाँ, चोरी करोगे फिर तो कहीं भागोगे ना, कहाँ भागोगे वहां। हेलीकॉप्टर लेके तुम ये चोरी करने जाओगे। पकड़ेगा तो ऐसा पीट पीट के तुम्हारा हालत कर देंगे वो, ठीक है। नहीं नहीं, अभी आते नहीं है ये, ऐसे बच्चे पूछ रहे हैं आप ले आते हो क्या, मेरा सर सुबह से मैं वहीं पे हेलीकॉप्टर लेके आते हो। वो बहुत समय पहले गई थी मैं, तो मैंने आपको दिखा दिया है ना। ऐसे नहीं आते जाते हो कि हाँ भाई चलो आ रहे हो, चलो अगले महीने चलते हैं। ये कुछ नहीं है, तो 3-4 हज़ार फोटो के सब वहाँ पे जो उनके वो होते हैं, कल्चरल फेस्ट होते हैं, मोनेस्ट्रीज, वेरी डिफरेंट वेज ऑफ लिविंग। बहुत मजेदार एरिया है, कभी जाना, एक बार इंटरव्यू निकाल लो फिर जाना, क्लास के बाद मिलना, ठीक है। अब आगे लिखो, रूरल सेटलमेंट्स, ठीक है। रूरल सेटलमेंट्स ले आते हैं नहीं, एक बार गए हैं पहले, पुरानी बात है। टेम्पररी लिख लिया ना, अब परमानेंट लिखो, परमानेंट में रूरल लिखो, ठीक है। राइट डाउन परमानेंट सेटलमेंट्स, परमानेंट सेटलमेंट्स, ठीक है। परमानेंट सेटलमेंट्स में राइट डाउन रूरल सेटलमेंट्स, ओके। So rural, we have already understood that the primary economic activities would be dominant here. Okay, so write down, rural settlements are those which refer to nucleation of houses, in a rural landscape, nucleation of houses in a rural landscape, okay, which consist of villages, okay, which consist of villages encompassing agricultural lands, settlements, pasture lands, pasture lands, settlements, okay. So the rural settlements will be in a situation of the rural landscape, okay. So rural settlements are in the situation of the rural landscape. Now this landscape is encompassing settlements, kahin ghar honge, some, okay, in some places there will be settlements, in some places there will be agricultural lands, in some places there will be the pasture lands. So this is the entire rural landscape, okay. This is not same to the urban landscape. गांव में देखते हैं ना how the landscape varies drastically. In the remote rural areas nowadays there is transition. Nowadays we see more of pakka houses, etc. But earlier rural houses, they were primarily having kacha houses, okay, agriculture tracts, pasture lands, etc. Okay. Now in rural settlements there can be different type of rural settlements. Okay, either it can be compact or it can be scattered. Okay, so depending upon the patterns which will emerge, they can be compact or they can be scattered. Okay, so next heading, write down patterns of rural settlement. Patterns of the rural settlement. First can be linear settlement. Write down linear settlement. Okay. So for connecting different places, for improving the communication, a transportation line was built. Okay, roadways, railways, some transportation route was developed, and then the settlement started developing along that. So this is linear settlement. Draw this. Okay. अच्छा, लेह में ही रहते हो? ठीक है, अगली बार जब आएंगे तो तुमको पूछ के आएंगे फिर. Just write on one line. These settlements develop. These settlements develop along a transportation route. Along a transportation route. Along a transportation route like a roadways, like railways, like roadways, railways. Okay? So linear settlements would emerge. Okay. Second, it can be circular. So possibly there is a water body, a pond, along which a circular settlement emerged. Okay. There is some temple along which there is a circular settlement which emerged. There is a well along which the circular settlement emerged. Okay. So write down circular settlement. Okay. Around a pond, well, around a temple, etc. Similarly, rectangular. Okay. Again, there can be a temple, or there is some important administrative office around which the settlement emerged. The water body can be rectangular around which the rectangular pattern emerged, etc. सर्कुलर भी हो सकता है, रेक्टेंगुलर भी हो सकता है, सिंपल. Now, these roads can also have a confluence point. There can be multiple roads which are merging. Okay. So when the multiple roads merge, they can result into different types of the settlement. It can be a T pattern, it can be Y pattern, okay, star pattern, etc. Multiple roads are merging, so resulting into star pattern. Okay. So next, 1, 2, 3. Fourth likho, merger of multiple roads. Merger of multiple roads results into different types of patterns. For example, T pattern, star pattern, Y pattern. Okay. So star pattern, cross pattern, T pattern, Y pattern, etc. You can draw 2, 3 of them. Okay. T pattern, star pattern, Y pattern, cross pattern, etc. Okay. Draw the pattern. Pattern बना लो. T pattern, Y star, etc. Okay. And another one can be a double pattern. Okay, a double pattern. So in double pattern, there can be that can develop on either side of the river. Okay, this is a river and the double pattern emerges. Okay, or there is a bridge, so double pattern emerges. डबल पैटर्न जस्ट नाम याद रख लो, कभी हो सकता है कि एमसीक्यू में एक स्टेटमेंट आ गया, डबल पैटर्न विच इमर्जेस ऑन आइदर साइड ऑफ अ ब्रिज और अ रिवर. डबल पैटर्न राइट डाउन. नहीं नहीं नहीं, लीनियर में इट इज कंटिन्यूस. इट इज कंटिन्यूस. दोनों तरफ डिवाइड हो गया ना पॉपुलेशन. नहीं नहीं, इसमें तो ये लीनियर है ना, दिस इज सेम. यहाँ पे ब्रिज आ गया तो दोनों साइड डिवाइड हो गया ना, ऑन बोथ साइड्स डिवाइड हो गया. समझ में आया? हाँ हाँ, बस बस ठीक है. डबल पैटर्न राइट डाउन which emerges because of a bridge ठीक है, और bridge or a river. Okay, bridge or a river, etc. Okay, so these are the pattern. Okay, these are the compact patterns. Okay, next, so these are called as compact, clustered, nucleated, agglomerated, one and the same thing. Okay, compact, clustered, nucleated, agglomerated, one and the same thing. Okay, so you can write down the synonyms: compact, clustered, nucleated, agglomerated. न्यूक्लिएटेड, एग्लोमरेटेड. अभी हमने कंपैक्ट सेटलमेंट के वो टाइप पढ़े ना, ये सब कंपैक्ट है कि नहीं है? यस. सर्कुलर है तो इज इट कंपैक्ट और नॉट? यस. सो कंपैक्ट इटसेल्फ इज कॉल्ड एज क्लस्टर्ड, न्यूक्लिएटेड, एग्लोमरेटेड. सो जस्ट राइट डाउन द सिनोनिम. ओके, एक लाइन लिखो, मैं बोलती हूँ. These settlements are compact settlements. These settlements are compact settlements, ठीक है, which are also called as clustered, nucleated, agglomerated. Is this nucleated or not? Yes, this is nucleated. This is dense population, agglomerated population. Okay, what do we mean by compact? Compact means when the population is surrounding a water body, compactly it is packed. Okay, so population density would be relatively higher. Okay, compact, clustered, nucleated, same and the one thing, right? Agglomerated, they are synonyms, you can use them, okay, interchangeably. Second can be semi compact, second type will be semi compact. Write down semi compact. रूरल सेटलमेंट में पहला हो गया ना, ये कंपैक्ट के ही टाइप थे हमने जो पढ़े, सर्कुलर, रेक्टेंगुलर एक्सेट्रा. ठीक है, ये सब कंपैक्ट ही तो हो गए बच्चों, कंपैक्ट हो गए ना, ये कंपैक्ट हो गए, कंपैक्ट हो गए. ठीक है, सेकेंड राइट डाउन सेमी कंपैक्ट, सेमी क्लस्टर्ड, semi compact, semi clustered. Okay, so this is compact, but there can be certain settlements which are semi compact. Okay, not the entire population is concentrated around one place. Okay, some population is also dispersed, some population is concentrated here, but the other population is dispersed. Now why semi compact type of settlements would emerge is mostly because of the socio cultural factors. Okay, that is, there can be certain, okay, differences due to caste system. Okay, so certain people who are belonging to the other caste, they are residing in the outskirts, so because of which there can be semi compact type of settlements which emerge. Okay, so just write down one point, they may emerge because of socio-cultural factors, socio-cultural factors. Socio-cultural factors. And C, dispersed or isolated. Okay, C, dispersed or isolated. C, dispersed or isolated. C, dispersed or isolated. Dispersed, isolated, or scattered, one and the same thing, or scattered. Dispersed, isolated, or scattered. Okay, now why will the population be dispersed? Because of, नहीं, थर्ड वाला बिल्कुल जो आइसोलेटेड है वो तो हमने पढ़ लिया, सेमी कंपैक्ट, ठीक है, सोशो कल्चरल करेक्ट, बट व्हाई द पॉपुलेशन वुड बी डिस्पर्स्ड? हाँ, ह्यूज लैंड अवेलेबल, बहुत ज़्यादा जमीन, ऐसा तो आजकल है ही नहीं. हाँ, हाँ, टेरेन में क्या प्रॉब्लम होगी? हाँ, तो वो क्या कारण होगा? हाँ, हाँ, तो क्या होगा, फिजिकल क्या प्रॉब्लम होगी? अरे वो तो ठीक है, हिली एरिया होगा ना, हिली एरिया होगा तो, है ना, बहुत सारी लैंड होगी तो क्या बन जाएगा यहाँ पे, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा छतरपुर में वो बन जाएंगे आपके फार्म हाउसेज बन जाएंगे, है ना, इतनी लैंड थोड़ी होगी कि डिस्पोर्स सेटलमेंट, अब तो वो जमाना तो चला गया अब, है ना. हाँ, 1 किलोमीटर में तो 15 यहाँ पे पीजी बन जाएंगे. ठीक है, तो ये क्यों होगा? बिकॉज ऑफ डिफिकल्ट टोपोग्राफी. ओके, ये हिली एरिया है, यहाँ पे बन ही नहीं सकता ना. ओके, बिकॉज ऑफ प्रेजेंस ऑफ हिली ट्रैक्ट्स. ओके, टोपोग्राफी इज नॉट फ्लैट लैंड. ओके, टोपोग्राफी इज एंडुलेटिंग. Wherever we get small space, small stretch of land, there is one house, then there is another house. Okay, like that. So because of the terrain, the terrain is not smooth, it is not flat land, it is undulating topography. Okay, there can be very high altitude mountains, then there is certain flat land. Wherever there is flat land in the valley, there can be some settlements. Okay, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा valley है तो यहाँ settlement हो सकता है, so because of which it will be dispersed. Okay, it will be dispersed. Have you been to some hilly areas? हिल स्टेशन में देखा होगा, है ना, छोटे छोटे वैली में थोड़े घर हो सकते हैं, otherwise it is scattered. Okay, now what is happening in hilly areas is a different phenomena which I will explain you later. What you see is a dense agglomeration also in some areas. That is a completely different phenomena, which I'll explain you later. But this is because of terrain. Okay, because of high altitude mountain ranges, there cannot be compact settlement. So settlements are spread. This is dispersed population. Dispersed. Okay, so write down dispersed, scattered में लिख लो. Such settlements emerge. Such settlements emerge because of harsh terrain. Of harsh terrain. ठीक? For example, hilly areas. For example, hilly areas. Okay, hilly areas. I'll show you some examples. Okay, so compact settlement may more obviously compact rural settlements where they would emerge in compact rural settlements where they would emerge. कोई states में सोचो कहाँ हो सकते हैं? यूपी, बिहार, वेस्ट बंगाल, all of this belt. Okay, alluvial belt. Okay, that would be compact settlement or not? Yes. Fertile soils, flat land, availability of resources, historic civilizations, densely populated. याद आ रहा है? So here there will be compact rural settlements. लिख लो. Example. Okay, rural settlements in Bihar. Okay, basically Gangetic Basin. Okay, Bihar, West Bengal, UP, etc. Okay, so Ganga Basin. Okay. Now see, this is a photograph. Okay, can you think from which state or which region this would be most probably? कहाँ से हो सकता है ये, या फिर कहाँ से नहीं हो सकता है? नॉर्दर्न प्लेन्स हो सकता है ना, बट दिस इज अ फोटो फ्रॉम राजस्थान. ओके, विच इज नॉट यूजुअली कॉमन कि राजस्थान से कैसे होगा, इतना ग्रीन एरिया, इतना ग्रीन लैंडस्केप नहीं हो सकता ना. ये केस स्टडी आई थी लपोडिया विलेज राजस्थान की डाउन टू अर्थ में. Okay, this was the case study which was published in Down to Earth. Okay, now since I'm using this word case study, I'll also explain you briefly what is a case study, and then I will make you write down certain case studies today. Okay, because now we are into 2-3 classes, so you will understand what is a case study. Now see, example is something which is very factual. Okay, for example, when I'm talking about agriculture, there are certain crops which are suitable in certain states, right? So I'm just giving you example, wheat cultivation in maybe Punjab, wheat cultivation in UP, okay, rice cultivation in Kerala. This is an example. Okay, if I am giving the detailed analysis along with that, that becomes a case study. Okay, so I'm giving you in case study, for example. Okay, difference between example and case study. When I'm using a case study, I'm giving you challenges of agriculture in Himachal Pradesh, challenges of agriculture in Himachal Pradesh, and particularly maybe in Shimla. Okay, or maybe across Hamirpur, or maybe across Kinnaur. Challenges of agriculture in Kinnaur. Now I'm talking specific about a region. याद है, regional approach, special approach, regional approach. I'm talking about a particular region. I'm talking about the challenges or opportunities in that region, and I am giving the analysis also. That becomes a case study. I'm not talking only about data. I'm not talking only about fact. I'm also giving you certain analysis. For example, this is a case study. Okay, so just write down in your margin somewhere. Margin में कहीं लिखो. Example is factual. Example is factual. Okay, giving some data, facts. That's it. Okay, data, facts. So box में लिख लेना what is an example and what is a case study. Okay, it is giving some datas. It is giving us some facts. Okay. For example, wheat cultivation. Wheat cultivation. Okay, across UP, Bihar. Rice cultivation, Kerala. Case study. That is analytical. either it is giving us, okay, the idea around challenges, okay, or opportunities. So case studies can be oriented from the purpose of only challenges. I'm giving challenges of that region, or I'm giving just the opportunities in that region. Okay. So case study must be regional. I must give the name of district, state, okay, from where I'm giving that case study. Okay, I must necessarily mention case study, like we have talked about Changpas. Case study Changpas, Ladakh. Okay. Transhumans. Transhumans can be one case study in your answer. Yes. Transhuman seasonal migration of Changpas. Give 2 lines on that. That becomes a case study. Simple. What you have read in that case, you are giving the discussion around that in 2 lines. That's it. Okay. Present that in 2 lines in a box in your answer. That would become a case study. Okay. That would be regional. Mention the region from where you have picked the case study. Is it a district or some particular state which you are talking about? कोई district हो सकता है ना, right? So some district or some state. So regional dimension. Draw a small map, small region map like we have drawn now. ऐसा छोटा सा map बना दो. Don't draw the entire pan India map. Okay, in a case study, just mention here case study transhumans by Changpas, small map, and mention 1-2 points in 2 lines. What is transhumans? Okay, season migration between winters and summers, okay, including their livestock and seasonal agriculture. So this becomes a case study. Clear हो गया? थोड़ा सा it brings an analytical perspective in your answers. This is clear now? The difference between example and case study is clear? Yes. Case study can be both challenge oriented and pros and cons. Both हो सकता है. Okay, challenge of a region or opportunities of a region. Both. So basically the idea of case study is that I've studied something about a region. Okay. I've studied some role model of a region which I'm trying to replicate in the other regions. समझ में आ गया? Simple. There is some good role model in a particular village that I've studied and I am proposing it as a solution for the other regions. Or I've studied some case study, okay, which is negative in context. Case study challenges in urban areas of Delhi. Okay, challenges in urban areas around Delhi NCR. Now this is also case study, but negative context ho gaya, right? Which I don't want to be repeated in the other regions. So I'm proposing this in my answer. Case study problems of urban pollution, okay, in Delhi NCR region. So you are just providing 2 lines. So that should not happen in the other regions. So case study can be both positive oriented or it can be also giving us the challenges which should not be replicated in the other areas like that. Clear हो गया ना? ठीक है. अब case study में यहाँ लिख लो. Okay, case study write down Lapodia village, Rajasthan. Lapodia village, Rajasthan. Lapodia village, Rajasthan. Okay. Case study Lapodia village, Rajasthan. Okay. Compact settlements have developed. Put the case study in box. Okay, compact settlements have developed in Lapodia village. In Lapodia village. Okay. In Lapodia village. This is due to transformation of the village by involvement of villagers, okay, by afforestation and revival of water bodies. Okay. So agriculture has also become a bit prosperous here. ठीक है, cultivation हो रहा है. So hence compact settlements have emerged. Okay. Now in dispersed, okay, this is dispersed settlement. Now we are understanding this. This is dispersed. This was compact. Okay. This is dispersed. इसमें दिख रहा है सारे घर एक दूसरे से दूर दूर है. ठीक है, डिस्पर्स्ड हो गए, आइसोलेटेड हो गए, स्कैटर्ड हो गए. सिंपल. दिस इज क्लियर. ओके. Now write down challenges of rural settlements. Challenges of rural settlements. Challenges of rural settlements. Okay. Now see, when we are talking about rural settlements and urban settlements, okay, which will be large in number? Rural settlements will be more in number, or urban settlements will be more in number? Rural settlement, number of villages are in lakhs. Urban areas are smaller in number. Population is more in urban areas, but then rural settlements are more in number, right? They are more in number, but having lack of infrastructure. That is the first biggest problem. Okay, so write down. First point, although they are more in number, although they are more in number, although they are more in number, but they lack infrastructure development. For example, hospitals, schools, etc. Next, very simple. Okay, deterministic factors, the physical factors, the terrain can be very harsh. So for example, the photo I have shown you, this is one of the high altitude areas. आपने पढ़ा होगा आर्ट एंड कल्चर में, की मोनेस्ट्री पढ़ा है, की मोनेस्ट्री आर्ट. अच्छा, वैसे अगर नॉलेज हो थोड़ा बहुत जनरली बुद्धिज्म के बारे में, मोनेस्ट्रीज आर लोकेटेड इन सम वेरी हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड एरियाज. सो दिस इज द लोकेशन इन स्पीति की मोनेस्ट्री. Okay, one of the very high altitude areas. Can you imagine the terrain in the winter season? Okay, so physical environment is also one of the big challenge here. How to get access to the water resources? They do not have access to water resources in winters. पानी नहीं होता, जम जाता है, पूरा बर्फ बन जाता है. Okay, second point लिखो. Physical environment. Okay, like high altitude, comma lack of drinking water, in desert areas. Okay. Lack of connectivity and accessibility in winter season. Lack of accessibility and connectivity in winter season in high altitude areas. Okay. Also in most of the villages there is no connectivity to roads. Road connectivity नहीं है, कच्चा roads है. Okay. Next point, lack of metal roads. And communication lines. Okay. Still there is lack of connectivity with respect to internet and etc. Internet नहीं है ना. इंटरनेट आता है गांव वगैरह में, अब आ जाता है. एक महाराष्ट्र का बच्चा 2 महीने पहले वो बहुत परेशान था, मैडम ऑनलाइन क्लास ही नहीं हो पा रहे हैं, हमारे यहाँ नेटवर्क ही नहीं आता है अभी, है ना, स्ट्रीम नहीं करता होगा. हाँ, नहीं आता है अभी भी. तो तुम कौन से क्षेत्र में, ये दिल्ली गांव नहीं है। हम्म? अच्छा, यूपी बिहार तो कनेक्ट हो गया अब तो लगभग। हाँ, थोड़ा जाओ लद्दाख में जाओ, है ना, कारगिल में जाके देखो, थोड़ा जाओ पैनगोंग लेक के पास जाके पकड़ना नेटवर्क। वहाँ रैंचो बन जाओगे तुम। नहीं देखो, ये भी बड़ा एक अजीब सी बात है, क्योंकि जब से स्कर्मिशेस हुए ना 2020 2021 से, स्कर्मिश मतलब कि वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो हुआ था ना इंडिया चाइना, स्कर्मिश मतलब पूरी जो फुल स्केल वॉर नहीं हुई, थोड़ा बहुत कन्फ्लिक्ट जैसा सिचुएशन बन गया था, तो स्कर्मिशेस बोलते हैं उसको। सो 2020-21 यू नो अबाउट दैट, इंडिया चाइना का थोड़ा सा कन्फ्रंटेशन हुआ था बॉर्डर में, राइट। उसके बाद वहां पे ऐसा 4G चलता है, तुम जाओ जरा लद्दाख। जितना यहाँ नहीं चलता होगा। वो उसके बाद कनेक्टिविटी हुआ ना, अभी जियो का हो गया है ना, वहाँ पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी है नहीं, नेटवर्क के पास बैठ जाओ और वहीं पूरे दिन फोन चलाओ। बट यहाँ एरिया में आओ जरा, जैसी ट्रेन जाती है मध्य प्रदेश से, नेटवर्क है ही नहीं वहाँ पे। मध्य प्रदेश, महाराष्ट्र, बहुत सारे इंटीरियर एरिया में नहीं है कनेक्टिविटी अभी अच्छी, है ना, बहुत प्रॉब्लम है। और रिमोट एरिया में चले जाओ, देयर इज नो टावर, कनेक्टिविटी कहाँ से आएगा, सिंपल सी बात है ना। नॉर्थ ईस्ट में बहुत प्रॉब्लम था, ये तो अब फिर भी थोड़ा बात कर रहे हैं हम, कम्युनिकेशन। यस, नॉर्थ ईस्ट रीजन देयर इज सीवियर प्रॉब्लम ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, है ना। यस, वेरी। नहीं नहीं, उड़ीसा वगैरह में नहीं है, वहाँ बढ़िया चलता है नेट। अंदर अंदर हो सकता है, इंटीरियर में हो सकता है, साउथ साउथ ईस्ट में हो सकता है, करेक्ट, है ना। अच्छा, नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चैलेंज इज डिजास्टर। ओके, डिजास्टर्स, राइट डाउन। एक तो देयर इज नो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड देयर इज ऑल्सो अ प्रॉब्लम ऑफ डिजास्टर्स, सो नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन। Disasters are a major challenge in remote rural areas. Remote rural areas. And due to unsustainable development, and due to unsustainable development and climate change, and climate change, the disasters are increasing in the frequency. Disasters are increasing in frequency and intensity. Increasing in frequency and intensity. Okay. Already there are certain areas which are disaster prone. Coastal areas, coastal rural areas, they're frequented by cyclones. Okay. In the hilly areas, there are disasters like landslides, okay, earthquakes, etc. And now, because of unsustainable development, the disasters increasing in intensity and frequency. Okay. For example, now we will write the case study of Dharali. Write down case study Dharali. Case study Dharali. Case study Dharali, Uttarkashi, Uttarakhand. Okay. Uttarakhand. Now to give you the locational perspective, okay, Badrinath, Gangotri, this is Harshil, nearby Harshil, this is Dharali, okay, Dharali. तो पड़ा होगा भागीरथी, okay, भागीरथी, Alaknanda, they meet at Bhagirathi, Alaknanda, they meet at Bhagirathi, Devprayag, okay. So here there is Bhagirathi, okay. So this is Dharali. So draw a small map, थोड़ा सा मैप बनाओ फटाफट. Draw a small map. Write down Gangotri, Badrinath, Uttarkashi, and Dharali. We will refer again to Uttarakhand in some other discussion. Then we will relate this aspect also there. I'll talk about Uttarakhand in migration also. Okay. Gangotri, Uttarkashi, Badrinath, and Dharali. Dharali. Nearby Harshil, Dharali. Dharali. बन गया? Maybe if you want to draw, you can just mention Dehradun, Haridwar. If you want to mention, you can just mention it. Okay. So in August, there was a flash flood landslide in Dharali. Okay, first listen to me. In August, there was a flash flood, severe landslide in Dharali. Okay, एकदम से पानी आया. अब you can see this. Okay, and it has washed away the entire village. Now this is a flat terrain. Okay, this has been completely washed. This was an entire village which has been completely washed away. Okay, now there are multiple reasons why this happened. One reason can be, okay, this is already an area which is landslide prone. Okay, so landslide would occur here, right? But apart from that, there are other reasons as well. So historically, the planning started here and a rural settlement emerged here. You can see the emergence of rural settlement here. But this area is also, okay, having this stream of the water. Okay, earlier this was a channel along which the settlement emerged eventually. But now, what the planners are saying is that this settlement itself was unsustainable. At some time, the water would come in the stream or not. Yes. And that is what has happened now. There was a certain outpour. Okay. There was even a cloudburst also, they are suggesting. Okay. So, because of which there was a heavy volume of water which increased here. And within a span of 10-15 seconds, the entire village that was devastated. There was a severe landslide here. Okay, and also it is being suggested that in the upper altitude there was a glacial lake. Okay, the glacial lake had, okay, increased in volume over a period of time. So it was increasing, and when suddenly there is a cloud burst, the volume increases uh, tremendously, and when the volume increases, then there can be breach, and when it is breached, then there can be sudden downpour. Okay, and it can lead to the outsurge of the water in the downstream areas. Simple. So that is what has happened. There are multiple events which happened on a single day, because of which there were flash floods. Okay, and it has wiped out the entire village. Now Dharali now eventually is a flat terrain. Okay, so is this unsustainable development? Yes, which has happened over multiple decades. But someday, eventually, what would happen? Someday, this would happen because of the unsustainable development which has taken place in the previous decades. Simple. Okay. Yes, upper limits of growth. हो गया ना, वो तो growth check हो ही गया. Okay. So this is Dharali Uttarakhand case study. So this is one of the challenge in the rural settlements or not? Yes. अभी हमने क्या line लिखा? Unsustainable development that is happening, which is increasing the frequency of the disasters. So unsustainable development, did this also impact the disaster in this area or not? Yes. Okay. इंटेंसिटी बढ़ गया ना उसका. उसमें एक दो पॉइंट लिख लेते हैं, राइट डाउन. Dharali witnessed flash floods. Dharali witnessed flash floods and landslide in 2000 in August 2025. Flash floods and landslides in August 2025. Reasons. Reasons. Next point, reasons. First, cloudburst. Cloudburst. ठीक है. Comma. Outburst of glaciated lake. Outburst of glaciated lake. Glaciated lake which had outburst. Okay. Outburst of glaciated lake. See how it happens is, Hmm? No, see, this is a glaciated lake in a high altitude area. Okay, why the water is contained here is because of the debris which is surrounding the glaciated lake. So this is the debris, right? So debris is surrounding this. But when the volume increases, there will be a time when this will break open or not. Yes. So when it breaks open, this is called as outburst. And this debris which is containing the water here like a container, that is called as moraines. Okay, and when there is sudden outburst, what would happen? There will be a glaciated lake outburst flood. Simple. Okay, glaciated lake outburst flood. This is GLOF. समझ में आ गया? Simple. ये बना लो अगर बनाना है तो. This debris surrounding this, okay, glaciated lake, this debris that is unconsolidated sediments, they are called as moraines. Moraines, write down in bracket debris. Okay, unconsolidated debris. इसमें हमने क्या लिखा? आउटबर्स्ट एंड ग्लेशिएटेड लेक आउटबर्स्ट, क्लाउडबर्स्ट एंड ग्लेशिएटेड लेक आउटबर्स्ट है ना. सेकंड नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिखो, रीजंस में ही लिखो, राइट डाउन इन रीजंस. ओके, अनसस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट, unsustainable development in Dharali in the past few decades. In JNK also, yes, JNK also I had heard about it. But see, in JNK I have heard about many case studies. I'm not very sure about which case study you are talking about, Arshi. But yes, in JNK also, GLOFs have happened, okay. Across northeast also GLOF have happened. Across Sikkim पढ़ा होगा आप लोगों ने, right? I'm not sure which case you are talking about, but yes, GLOF has happened across many states. Unsustainable development क्या लिखा हमने? Past few decades, ठीक है? Past few decades. Outcome, outcome. Dharali village was washed away by erratic rainfall. And heavy floods. ठीक है? This is clear. These are remote areas. Already there is lack of infrastructure. Because of unsustainable development, we ourselves are increasing the frequency of the disasters. Simple. ठीक है? This is clear. Rural settlements challenges. Next, write down urban settlements. Okay. So urban settlements, we understand that the majority of the population will be engaged in which type of economic activities? Secondary and tertiary activities. Okay, secondary and tertiary activities. But now, when we classify the urban areas, okay, you must have heard these terms: metropolitan areas, cities, towns, etc. Okay, we cannot classify them similarly for all the countries. Why? What is the reason? Population size is variable. Very good. Population size of India is variable. It cannot be compared with the population size of Switzerland. It cannot be compared with the population size of any other country, right? So there different countries are having different population size, because on the basis of which we cannot classify the urban areas similarly. For a country, what might be a city might be a very small town for another country, right? So hence we do not have the same classification. Okay, तो इसमें एक पॉइंट लिख लो, urban settlements are those in which the majority of population is engaged in, are those in which the majority of population is engaged in secondary and tertiary economic activities. And tertiary economic activities, they can be classified on the basis of population size, density, function, etc. Okay, etc. Density, functions, etc. Okay. So definition as per census. First, all statutory places with either municipality, cantonment board, etc. All statutory places with municipality, cantonment board, etc. Or B, first, B का A, having minimum population of 5,000. BA, minimum population of 5,000. Okay. Second point, at least 75% of working population. Engaged in non-agricultural occupations. Okay. And a density of at least 400 persons per square kilometer. And a density of at least 400 persons per square kilometer. Okay. So broadly we now understand rural settlements can be compact or can be nucleated. Okay. Can be compact or can be scattered. Okay. And then there can be the urban settlements. Urban settlements are different from the rural settlements because of the type of the economic activity in which the people are engaged. Okay. Now in the urban settlements also you must have heard different terms. Cities, towns, ऐसा सुना है? क्या क्या सुना है urban settlements के regarding में? ऐसे कुछ terms सुने हैं? Metropolitan region, और क्या सुना है? नहीं सुना है. Cities, towns ये तो सुना ही होगा, right? So they are different places in the urban settlements as per the hierarchy. Okay, as per the hierarchy. Very important discussion that we are going to take now. Okay, in urban settlements, there are different terminologies: towns, cities, metropolitan regions, etc. Okay, they are as per the hierarchy of the urban settlements. What do we mean by hierarchy of the urban settlements, and where do we put them? Okay, this is very important discussion, because if you understand this, you will be able to attempt the questions on settlement geography. Okay, so you are seeing a pyramid here. पहले सुनो फिर बाद में लिखेंगे अभी. ठीक है? You are seeing a pyramid here. Okay, on the bottom of the pyramid, what you are seeing are hamlets, small villages, then there are certain towns, okay, then large towns, then cities, and then conurbation. This is kind of a hierarchy of the settlements. Okay, on one side you are seeing the size, and on the other side you are seeing the frequency. What do you mean by size and frequency? Okay, so size, here this is small and the size here is large. Okay, so the population size here would be very large. Okay, the size would be very large. So in a large city there will be more number of people, right? And frequency means the number of villages. Number of villages will be more as compared to a very large city. Large city would be smaller in number. Okay, in number, not in population size, in number. Large cities, for example, Mumbai, Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Delhi, etc. So smaller in number or not? Yes. So in frequency it is less. It is less and it will be high. Number of villages would be larger, but the population size would be larger in a large city. Don't worry about what is conurbation, etc. I will explain it to you. So this is called as the hierarchy pyramid, where we are talking about the population and the frequency. Simple. Okay, population and frequency. Now the question is, how does this hierarchy emerge? Isn't it so? Why a region remains a small city, a small town, but why some other areas become the metropolitan areas? Isn't it so? Let's try to understand the hierarchy of the settlements. Very, very, very important discussion. Okay, so write down hierarchy of settlements. Okay, hierarchy of the urban settlements. Hierarchy of urban settlements. Now you will not write anything. You will just listen. Now see, forget about what is today. Historically, let's start the discussion from beginning. Okay, this is a region. Okay, and there are many rural settlements. All are rural settlements. Okay, all are having almost similar importance. Now the question is, why a rural settlement would become more important? भैया भैया ये क्या आ रहा है, इसको ठीक करो. हाँ तो हाँ है ना. Now the question is, there are many rural settlements. Why one singular settlement would start becoming more important as compared to the other? Okay, let's imagine that this settlement, it starts becoming more important as compared to the other settlements. So let's name it as B. It becomes more important as compared to the other settlement. Why it would become more important than the other settlement? अरे धीरे 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 रुको, एक एक करके बोलो. हाँ अब बोलो, एक एक बोलो. वेरी गुड. यस, लोकेशन. हाँ ठीक है, लोकेशन हो सकता है. लोकेशन. व्हाट एल्स? रिसोर्सेस. व्हाट एल्स? सब इसी में आ जाएगा. रिसोर्सेज. कनेक्टिविटी. कनेक्टिविटी ऑल्सो इन लोकेशन, है ना. Why economic activities will come in this region? Because of resources only. What else? Why this region would become more important? Economic activity is happening. Yes, correct, Mayank, but economic activity will happen only because of availability of resources. Part of major route, yes, connectivity, location. What else? Climate, physical factors. Very good. Climate, physical factors. अरे अभी रूरल एरिया जाओ. रुको अभी, है ना. Historical factors. Historical factors. For example, these locations had become important part of colonialism. Okay, so development of Kolkata, right? So historical factors. Historical factors होते होंगे, बट हो सकता है कि वो डेवलप हो गया हिस्टोरिकली, है ना, इंपॉर्टेंट टाउन बन गया वो, रिलीजियस टाउन था या जो भी था, बट वो हिस्टोरिकल इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया। अब तो हम 1800 1900 की बात कर रहे हैं ना, बट मैं बोल रही हूँ इनिशियली इट स्टार्टेड समवेयर ना। इट माइट बी इंपॉर्टेंट रिलीजियस सेंटर, माइट बी इंपॉर्टेंट हिस्टोरिकल सेंटर, माइट बी इट इमर्ज इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज ड्यूरिंग colonialism it had developed, that center had been developed, right? So historical factor हो गया, ठीक है। yes, so historical हो गया सब, है ना। then it could have emerged as an important administrative center. Why Delhi? Administrative center, है ना। so administrative center, so climate along with that other physical factors. Now the idea is that when we compare 1 2 3 4 5 6 with B, okay, B has started emerging as an important center, okay. So this is the first development which takes place, that is it is becoming more important as compared to the other locations in the vicinity, okay. So first point लिखो या stage 1 लिखो, stage 1 yes, cultural factors, socio cultural factors, historical factors, etc. Correct, that had become important, okay. So stage 1, write down stage 1. In a region, in a region, one center, one center emerges as an important settlement, an important settlement as compared to, as compared to the other locations because of, because of factors like location, resources, location, comma resources, resources like water, soil, etc. Water, soil, mineral, etc. Okay, connectivity, comma connectivity, comma physical factors, comma physical factors like suitable climate, flat land, comma historical factors, socio-cultural factors, comma administratively, ठीक है, etc. ठीक है। Now next question, as one center starts becoming important as compared to the other centers in vicinity, what phenomena will we start witnessing? As one center emerges as an important center as compared to the, very good, as compared to the other centers, what phenomena we will start witnessing is migration. People will start migrating from vicinity towards the center or not. Now comes the role of job opportunity. अब समझ में आ रहा है बच्चों, अब जो आप बोल रहे हो economic activity will happen, jobs, etc. Yes, now that would start happening because now the center is become important. Probably there is development of industries, probably there is development of some job opportunities. This is socio culturally important, okay. This is an area which is having a very important temple, तो पीपल आर माइग्रेटेड कि यहाँ थोड़ा पूजा का सामान बेच देंगे, थोड़ा कुछ 5 10 20 रुपए कमा लेंगे, है कि नहीं। सो दिस विल बिकम इम्पोर्टेंट सेंटर फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज, सो people will start migrating from the vicinity to this particular area, okay. Stage 2, Stage 2, beginning of migration, beginning of migration from nearby rural areas, from nearby rural areas to the center B, to the center B, to the center B. Okay. Okay. Now when there is a stream of migrants here, so what will be the repercussions? There will be increase in the population. The population density would increase. There will be change in the type of economic activity being pursued here. Earlier it was primarily agrarian. Now the other economic activities would emerge. Yes. There will be emergence of linkages with the rural areas. People from the rural areas, probably they would come here, okay, for trading, okay, because now there will be also some bit of development of transportation route. Okay, so the trading would emerge, initial basic levels of industrialization would emerge, okay, something like that. Markets can be established, etc. So what would happen? There would be change in the economic activities here. So it would start emerging as initially smaller towns. अभी smaller towns बन गए, है ना? So what will be the implications? Write down. It will result into okay, increase in population, comma, increase in density, population density, comma, changes in economic activities, in center B. Hence center B emerge as a small town. Hence center B now emerge as a small town. Okay. Now hierarchy changed? Yes. Okay. Then similarly there can be more migrants who are coming here. So the small town will turn into a larger town. A larger town will turn now into a smaller city. Okay. So this might turn into a city eventually. Now this is a city. Okay. Why be town will change hierarchically into a small city. Stage 3. Now in stage 3 what is happening is, earlier it was a small town, then it becomes a city, okay, but now it has become economically very important. It provides a lot of job opportunities, the per capita income are high, the standard of living is very high here, right? So more and more people would want to migrate here from the other nearby rural areas as well, okay, from R1, from R2, etc. There will be many streams of migration which would emerge, okay. Now this city itself will turn into a mega city. It is having a very large population base now, variable depending upon the different countries, but this is socio-economically very important center now, okay. Now this pink, this is showing the administrative boundaries of the city. Okay, administrative boundaries of the city. Now by stage 3 and end of stage 3, what is happening is, earlier the population which was migrating, okay, they were getting ample job opportunities, they were also getting proper residences to live, because there was space to accommodate the people who were migrating. Okay, then what happened, as the city center it started getting crowded, people started living in the outskirts of the city, but within the administrative boundary. People are still living within the administrative boundaries of the city. Okay, but they are living here. Okay, they are taking some metro and coming to the central Delhi for working, for education, etc., and then going back, but within the administrative boundaries of the city. Okay, but now this center region, does this witness a very steep hike in the prices of the land? Yes, prices of land, they are very high now. Not everybody can afford a home, so rental systems emerge. Okay, there is crowding also which starts emerging. ये तो बिल्कुल clear हो रहा है ना? So what happens is, now there is crowding, there is traffic congestion, problems of pollution, etc., they start emerging now. Okay, but people are living inside the administrative boundaries, and this city is now a very big city, even bigger than mega city. Okay, so the city is now socioeconomically very important, but facing the problems of urbanization. Okay, because urbanization is what? Increase in the population in the urban areas. Okay, so it increases the settlements. Now there are problems associated with the city. Clear ho raha hai? So this is stage 3. Stage 3, write down. Migration continues from multiple rural areas to the center B, which is now socio-economically very important. In this center, the per capita incomes are high, economically very important. In this center B, the per capita incomes are very high. Are very high. ठीक है? Comma, very high standards of living. High number of job opportunities. Okay. But next point, but this center also faces problems of, congestion, traffic jam, pollution. ठीक है? Comma, unsustainable utilization of resources, etc. Unsustainable utilization of resources, etc. ठीक है? So on one hand, the standards of living are very high, but it is also facing problems. Okay, at this stage, it is called as a mega city, metropolis, megalopolis, etc. Okay. बन गया? Stage 4. Now still the migration is continuing. What would happen now? Or अब क्या होगा? अब migration is continuing. Yes, very good. Now there is hardly any space inside the city. You can have some rentals, okay? Some people might be able to purchase homes. But what about the other population? People are still migrating. Now they have to reside in the outskirts of the administrative boundaries. Very good. Okay. Don't draw. Now, as the migration still continues, okay, now there is hardly any space inside the administrative boundaries of the city. People will have to reside somewhere. Okay, so they start residing in the area which is just in the proximity of the administrative boundary of the city. Okay, so this is just in proximity, they start residing here. So some settlements emerge here, some settlements emerge here, like that. Okay, initially the settlements are almost scattered in the area which is surrounding the vicinity of the administrative boundary. They're almost scattered. Okay, जहाँ पर भी land मिला, because land is still cheaper here, okay, as compared to the administrative boundaries of the city. Within the city it is much higher, the land price has increased tremendously. Here the land prices are cheaper. Okay, this is mostly also agricultural land. Okay, in the vicinity of the city, in the outskirts of the city, earlier this was the agricultural land or not? Yes. So the land prices are less, people purchase land and they can live here, okay, in the independent houses. वो जो आप बोल रहे थे ना, एक एक किलोमीटर में रहेंगे, ये वो वाले घर हैं. ठीक है, अभी फार्म हाउस बना लिया, अभी still the land prices are cheaper. Okay, so some settlements emerge here, but they are not planned for now. Anywhere where the migrants are coming, okay, if they get some land prices which are cheaper, they will purchase the land and they will settle here. It is not planned per se, it is where you are getting the land, you are settling. Simple. Okay, now this zone of transition, now see, the land within this yellow boundary, this is urban area. Yes, the land outside it will be the rural area. Simple, right? Now this transition zone in the outskirts of the urban area, okay, which is not even properly rural now, because not, it is not entirely now agricultural, because people have started making some settlements here. Okay, some initial some malls would also come. Initially होता है ना, बड़े बड़ी लैंड है, सो मॉल बन गया वहाँ गुड़गांव में आउटस्कर्ट्स में. हाँ बोलो. सिटी की वजह से ही डेवलप हुए हैं. एक्सीलेंट, समझ में आ रही है बात? This has developed because they are working in the city, because of the city itself. Earlier these were plain agricultural tracts, they were isolated tracts. Nobody was residing here, probably it was being used for agriculture, but barren land, wasteland. Okay, but probably not wasteland, because it is in proximity to city, it was having certain use. Okay, it is not even as cheaper as you think. Okay, inside the rural remote areas it will be much cheaper. This would still be having some price. Okay, ऐसा नहीं, बिल्कुल प्राइस नहीं है इसका, right? But now the important point is that some settlements emerged here. Okay, this is not properly agricultural now, this is a transition zone. Yes, it is having certain characteristics of urban areas, but also certain characteristics of the rural areas. These are probably agricultural lands interspersed, right? These are called as the transition zones, okay, which are called as the rural urban fringe areas. Okay, This zone is called as rural urban fringe. Okay. Now see, there are certain settlements which emerged here, but why did they come into place first? Because of the city itself. If the city was not here itself, would these settlements have any significance? No. Hardly anybody would make any home here, right? They have come into picture because of the main city itself. So they are dependent upon the city. Yes. Now see, earlier it was scattered. But now what would happen is eventually नहीं देखो सुनो पहले. Now what would happen is there is stream of migration from multiple rural areas, or probably now because it was a mega city in the previous stage, it is now mega city, right? Probably the migration is happening from a small town here now. Okay, this is a small town or a small city. Now migration is from multiple places, but one route becomes more important as compared to the other routes. That would happen because probably this region is having plenty of human resources, or the connectivity becomes okay so strong here because of the backward and forward linkages here. This is the center which provides this center with the raw material. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. Yes. So this becomes the raw material supplier. एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट्स हो सकते हैं, ठीक है. स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए सम रॉ मटेरियल इज प्रोवाइडेड फ्रॉम हियर एक्सेट्रा. सो from the other centers, even when compared from this small town, this rural village, it had become more important in connectivity to the main urban area because it is providing it with the required raw materials. So what would happen is this connectivity route would become more prominent as compared to these routes. That is why you would see, okay, in proximity to Delhi NCR, some routes have become more important as compared to the other routes or not. Yes. For example, Delhi Dehradun, that has become very important route. Delhi Jaipur, Delhi Agra, etc. Some routes have become more prominent, right? Very fast connectivity has happened now. So this route becomes more important. Okay. अभी बनाओ नहीं, कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे, रुक जाओ अभी. So this route becomes more important. Now as this route becomes more important, okay, probably, okay, there are some other interspersed rural areas or some small cities, small towns also here also. यहाँ पे भी हो सकते हैं linear settlement type, ठीक है. So ये towns हो सकते हैं or some small cities. Okay. So this connectivity route becomes more important. Okay. Now I was residing in this rural urban fringe area. Why would I want to be located here? This route has become more important. More facilities are here. There are certain malls also which have developed. Some shopping complexes have developed, and this provides me with better opportunities, better connectivity, etc. I would be wanted to be located here, right? So some colony, some kind of builder residences, they start emerging in this area. Okay. So more and more number of people residing in the rural urban fringe would now start, okay, accommodating being here. यहाँ पे आने लगेंगे. Okay. So new residences would start emerging here. Now this emerges in form of an H city. Okay. This becomes an yes, correct. This is now an H city. Why did H city come into picture in the first place? Because of the main city. It has not been existing historically. It comes into existing because of the main this mega city. Because of this mega city, this H city comes into place. This is clear? Okay. So one H city can be here, another route becomes important here, another H city can be here, like that. But are the H cities within the rural urban fringe areas? Are the H cities within the rural urban fringe areas? Yes, simple. Within the rural urban fringe ही तो है. Yes. Okay, so these are the HCTs. Okay, now very importantly, second another point is that these are small towns. Are they within the rural urban fringe? No, they are just connected to the main city. They might have existed historically, ये पहले भी थे. They are just better connected to the main city, but they have their own independent economic base. They have their own independent economic base. They are existing historically also. They have their own employment opportunities. They have their own economic base. It is just that they are now better connected to the main city. Okay, they are called as satellite towns. Okay, they are called as satellite towns. Okay, it is just that over a period of time these satellite towns, they get connected to the main city. Can you give me an example of satellite town for Delhi which have existed historically? Yes, very good. और बोलो, जो historically have been there but now they are well connected. हाँ, ठीक है ठीक है ठीक. जयपुर, very good, right? So they have existed historically. Sonipat, Panipat, this entire route that has existed historically, right? This Karnal, Ambala, Sonipat, Panipat route, they have existed historically, but now it is better connected to Delhi. समझ में आ रहा है? तो ये क्या हो गए? Satellite towns of Delhi हो गए? Yes. They are not HCTs. Gurgaon. Okay. Even Noida, for that matter of fact, they have not existed historically. They have come into picture because of the main center. समझ में आया? अभी एक तो ये पहले डायग्राम बनाओ, then I will dictate it to you. See, these are not satellite cities. ठीक है, ये satellite cities नहीं है माइकल. These are not satellite cities. Satellites will have their own historical independence. छोटे छोटे गोले मत बनाओ, बाद में नहीं पता लगेगा ये क्या बनाया है. बड़ा बड़ा बनाओ. और ये फ्रिंज को उतना ही बड़ा दिखा दिया जितना सिटी सेंटर है. गड़बड़ मत करो. सिटी बड़ा है, फ्रिंज ट्रांजिशन जोन है ये. तुमने सिटी से बड़ा तो फ्रिंज ही बना दिया. ऐसा लग रहा है यहाँ तुम्हें रहने में बड़ा दिक्कत है, इसलिए तुमने फ्रिंज एक्सपैंड कर दिया. Eventually people start migrating from fringe on a daily basis now. है ना? गुड़गांव से डेली वर्क करने आते हैं कि नहीं? पढ़ने आते हैं कि नहीं? बिल्कुल आते हैं. करनाल से आते हैं, पानीपत से आते हैं, मथुरा से आते हैं. बिल्कुल आएंगे, क्यों नहीं आएंगे? क्योंकि 2-2.5 घंटे में तो दिल्ली आ जाते हैं वहां से, है कि नहीं? नहीं, फिर वो वही उनको याद आता है ना, 15,000 में वो 10x12 वाला कमरा. इसलिए वो 2.5 घंटे में माइग्रेट करके आ जाते हैं. नहीं, उससे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है ना, वो यहाँ नहीं रख सकते फैमिली को. कैसे रखेंगे? 2 BHK का रेंट ही 50,000 दोगे, इससे अच्छा डेली माइग्रेट करके अपना जो है. हाँ हाँ, महीना. हाँ, तुम तो लूट दोगे गवर्नमेंट को. 200 रुपये में कौन सी बस आ रही है पूरे साल की. Label everything, HCT, satellite town, everything. Okay, this is HCT, this is satellite town, etc. Label them. Stage 4 explain once. मैम स्टेज 4 पूरा तो बता दिया, फिर से जान लोगे मेरी तुम. तुम क्या ऑफलाइन हो गए थे कुसुम? पूरा तो स्टेज 4 बता दिया भाई. मैं इनविजिबल हो गई थी क्या? कुसुम, व्हाट डू यू वांट टू आस्क इन स्टेज 4? Ask me the particular question. I have explained the entire stage. I'll just explain in 30 seconds briefly. Okay, the city is becoming more and more important. Okay, people do not get places to reside here. Inside the urban area, the land prices are very high, the rentals are very high. People start expanding to the outskirts. Okay, just the transition zone outside the urban area, this is called as rural urban fringe, RUF. Okay, people start residing here, and when the settlements emerges here, they are called as HCTs. Okay, and a proper connectivity route which emerges from the rural areas to the fringe areas. Okay, transition zone. So this is where the satellite towns may be connected to the main city, and satellite towns are those which are historically present. Routes, ma'am. अच्छा, डिक्टेशन मैंने अभी नहीं किया है, अभी रुको. ठीक है, अभी पहले डायग्राम बना लो, फिर मैं लिखवाती हूँ. बना लिया डायग्राम? लिखो ना, फर्स्ट पॉइंट लिखो. Write down the main urban center. The main urban center becomes economically more important. Economically more important, leading to further migration from nearby rural areas, and small towns to the main urban center. Next point, the population. The population, okay, eventually spreads. Eventually spreads in the outskirts. In the outskirts of the administrative boundary of the urban area. Of the administrative boundary of urban area. This zone of transition, from urban to rural ways of living just in proximity to urban center is called as RUF, rural urban fringe. Okay, so administratively it is under rural areas, but economically, socio-economically it is transition, it is urban ways of living. ओके, मॉल्स होंगे, हाई राइज बिल्डिंग्स होंगे. गुड़गांव, नोएडा में देखो कितना हाई राइज बिल्डिंग्स है. ओके, अब तो वहां पर घर दिल्ली से महंगा हो गया लग रहा है, फिर भी वहां बाढ़ आ जाती है. अभी 10 साल पहले गुड़गांव देखते ना, कुछ भी नहीं था गुड़गांव में, कुछ भी नहीं था. सब पीछे 10 साल में हुआ है. ठीक है, इज रूरल अर्बन फ्रिज. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, राइट डाउन. Settlements emerge in RUF. Settlements emerge in RUF in form of HCTs. In form of HCTs. In form of HCTs. Okay. Will the HCTs be planned or haphazard? Haphazard. They will be haphazard. This is not planned urbanization. This is urbanization which is happening on its own. आए, बैग लेके आए, जहां जगह मिली वहां बैठ गए, वहां सेटलमेंट हो गया. जहां लैंड मिली वहां पे कंस्ट्रक्शन हो गया. दिस इज नॉट प्लान, दिस इज नॉट सेक्टोरल प्लानिंग लाइक चंडीगढ़. And when the planning is not there, the emergence of unsustainable haphazard urbanization leads to the urbanization problems. Urbanization in itself is not a problem. Urbanization which is not planned is a problem. समझ में आया? So this is unsustainable haphazard urbanization, है ना? ठीक है. Edge cities, ठीक है. Next point, write down. Eventually, one particular route may become more important. One particular route may become more important with respect to connectivity. With respect to connectivity, as compared to the other routes. ठीक है. In the same point, write down multiple satellite towns. In bracket, write down towns, satellite towns. Underline satellite towns. In bracket, write down towns which have existed historically and have their own independent economic base. And have their own independent economic base. ठीक है. Bracket close. Their own independent economic base. Bracket close. ठीक है. May be connected to the main urban center on this route. Urban center on this route. Okay. Very important term. Okay. Backward and forward linkages. Okay. This center is providing it with the raw material and the end product is supplied here. So backward and forward linkages develop here or not? Yes. कॉटन जा रहा है यहाँ से टेक्सटाइल डेवलप हो गया, टेक्सटाइल सेंटर्स बन गए, राइट. सो बैकवर्ड एंड फॉरवर्ड लिंकेजेस डेवलप हियर. ओके. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, बैकवर्ड एंड फॉरवर्ड लिंकेजेस डेवलप ऑन दिस रूट. Backward and forward linkages develop on this route. As the rural centers are supplier of the raw material, rural centers are supplier of raw material and urban centers that of manufactured goods. So सप्लाई चेन हमारा जो है क्रिएट हो गया, राइट. Now see, there is one urban center. Okay. There are 8 cities. Are there interspersed rural areas? Yes. Interspersed, बीच में. In between there are rural areas also? Yes. There are rural areas also. There are certain rural areas. Then there are 8 cities. Okay, where urbanization has emerged. But there are rural areas also. Some agricultural land भी है यहाँ पर. Okay. 8 cities, 8 city 2, 8 city 1, main urban center, the mega city, right? In proximity here there can be some small town also, okay, which is there also in proximity to the main center, right? Now this entire area which is having 1 mega city, 2 mega cities, 3 mega cities, some 8 cities, some rural areas, okay, this entire urban area, okay, which has become very important now because of very high population density is very high, economic base is very strong, okay. It exists because in the first place there is at least one important urban center, at least one urban center. There can be two urban centers, three urban centers, okay, which are equally important, but at least one important center is there. There are 8 cities, maybe some small towns, some small city, interspersed rural areas. This entire region is called as metropolitan region. This is a metropolitan region with one mega city. There can be multiple mega cities, okay. Just इसको एक boundary बना के बोलो, this is metropolitan region. The individual city will be a mega city. This region becomes the metropolitan regions. हाँ, मैंने वहां पे छोटा स्मॉल टाउन भी दिखाया ना, कुछ स्मॉल टाउन भी हो सकते हैं उस रीजन के अंदर, ठीक है. बेसिकली उसका इन्फ्लुएंस है वहां तक. The city is exerting an important influence here, okay. This is the administrative boundary of the city, but it is possible that the influence can be till here, okay. This is an entire region, metropolitan region हो गया ये, ठीक है. Like Mumbai metropolitan region, okay. मुंबई मेट्रोपॉलिटन रीजन, चेन्नई मेट्रोपॉलिटन रीजन हो गया, दिल्ली एनसीआर हो गया, ठीक है. So here there are interspersed rural areas as well, okay. There can be some edge cities, rural areas interspersed, okay. But this is economically very important dominant center, very high population concentration, okay. इसमें write down one line, write down. The regions with one or more mega cities, comma, edge cities, some small towns and cities, and interspersed rural areas. Okay. Having a large economic influence, okay, are the metropolitan areas. Are the metropolitan areas. Now see, with further economic development, okay, even the transition zone has become very important. The edge cities, they're almost similar to economic importance like the urban center, okay. The cost of living is very high in Gurgaon, isn't it? So in Noida also, right? So the people have migrated to such an extent that here also there is lot of population now, okay. They have become very important in economic terms, okay. The satellite towns also start becoming more important now because of the connectivity, and like we have discussed just now, that people migrate on a daily basis like that. So this also becomes more and more important, okay. Now in this stage what would happen? This is stage कौन सा लिखा था अभी हमने? Stage 5 होगा ना? हाँ, stage 5, ठीक है. Now like we have discussed, living here and migrating to the main city on a daily basis is more cheaper as compared to living in the main city. So there will be reverse migrations. people would start living here now. Okay, there will be reverse migrations now, counter migrations. They are just migrating to the city daily basis only for job purpose, okay, or for education, and then they just come back. Okay, so this is becoming more and more important. Yes. So one aspect is there will be counter migration, and second is emergence of economic importance, you can say increasing economic importance of the satellite towns. Okay, then there will also be a time when you would want to migrate back to rural areas and work from home, है ना. That is very last stage, that is reverse migration हो गया. ठीक है, अब यहीं पे रहोगे और रूरल एरिया से ही घर से ही काम कर लिया. ठीक है, अब सर्विस बेस्ड इकोनॉमी में हो सकता है ना. या फिर यहाँ पर जो है हमारा पेनिट्रेशन ऑफ द इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री, स्टार्टअप इंडिया, ठीक है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एंड एक्सेट्रा. सो यू आर जस्ट वर्किंग फ्रॉम रूरल एरियाज, यू डोंट वांट टू बी लिविंग इन दी अर्बन एरियाज एनीमोर. ठीक है, वर्क फ्रॉम हिल्स, वर्क फ्रॉम होम, वो वाला कल्चर आ जाएगा. Very later stages of economy. Okay, now what is happening is these are also becoming very important, and they are getting better and better connected here. Interspersed rural areas now, they are no more interspersed rural areas. In between the rural areas, they do not exist anymore, because these are very high stages of urbanization. Like northeast coast of America, याद आया, पढ़ा था हमने उस दिन, densely populated urban areas बोला था ना, western Europe countries etc. There are certain stretches, not necessarily the entire country or the entire state, there are certain stretches which are very highly urbanized. Rural areas interspersed are there no more. Okay, there are no more interspersed rural areas, these are continuously urbanized. These are called as conurbations. Okay, this is now a conurbation, continuous urbanization. Highest level of hierarchy याद आया वो pyramid में, conurbation. So this is a conurbation now. This is the highest level in order of hierarchy. This is continuously urbanized. No more there are interspersed rural areas. Okay, people here the or are living in the urban areas. Urbanization, continuous urbanization. इसको draw कर लो. These are satellite towns. 1, 2, 3. तभी का लेबलिंग इंपॉर्टेंट है. उसकी इमेजिनेशन में मत छोड़ो क्या बनाया, वो पता नहीं क्या समझ बैठेगा. हमें तो अपने कन्वीनियंस के लिए समझना है ना, और थोड़ा हायरार्की के लिए दिखाना कि ये इससे बड़ा है. ठीक है, ये मेगा सिटी है. बट इवेंचुअली इन नॉर्थ ईस्ट कोस्ट ऑफ अमेरिका, across western Europe, there are many examples where they are all similar in order of hierarchy. Now HCTs have become even more important. ऐसे भी cases है. Okay, you do not need to go till there, but yes, कभी नहीं होगा. इकोनॉमिकली इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं होगा, इकोनॉमिकली इम्पोर्टेंट है ना. इकोनॉमिकली इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं हो सकता. दिल्ली विल रिमेन इकोनॉमिकली मोर इम्पोर्टेंट. एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कैपिटल सेंटर. साउथ में हो गया बेंगलुरु, चेन्नई, ऑलमोस्ट कंपेरेबल नाउ. पॉपुलेशन देखो ऑलमोस्ट कंपेरेबल है कि नहीं. बेंगलुरु, हैदराबाद, चेन्नई, these are all emerging conurbations. मैं ऑमलेट बनाऊं. तो बाहर से ही बनाओगे. कॉनर्बेशन क्या है, ये पूरा कॉनर्बेशन ही तो हुआ. This is earlier it was a metropolitan area, right? Because there were interspersed rural areas. ठीक है, now this becomes a conurbation. Okay, write down conurbation. Continuous urbanization, continuous urbanization. NU, continuous, NUOUS, continuous, continuous urbanization, conurbation. These are the urban areas, these are the urban areas. Continuous urbanization. These are the urban areas which are continuously urbanized. without interspersed rural areas. Continuously urbanized without interspersed rural areas. Okay. Economic activities like industrialization and services predominate. Economic activities like industrialization and services sector dominate. Okay. They're more concerned about India. Okay. So for example, in India currently we do not have conurbations properly, right? They are under development. For example, write down Delhi, Delhi Chandigarh. This route is a developing conurbation. Delhi Chandigarh, Mumbai Pune. Even for that matter of fact, Mumbai Pune, Bengaluru, Chennai, Hyderabad. This entire route. Mumbai Pune, Bengaluru, Chennai, Hyderabad. Okay. In this stage only write down. In these last stages of urbanization, in these last stages of urbanization, there is migration. There is migration from urban areas, okay, towards smaller towns, smaller towns, comma cities, and even rural areas. Even rural areas. People on a daily basis. People on a daily basis commute from nearby towns and cities to mega city. Nearby towns and cities to mega city for employment opportunities. Okay? For employment opportunities. Now see, in developing and developed countries, the phenomena would be different. The different stages would be witnessed, right? In extremely developed countries, these would be the stages, stage 4 and 5. Okay. So here there can be severe problems of pollution, etc. Now this is kind of a dead city. Okay, because the infrastructure that has been extensively used now. ठीक है, बहुत crowding हो चुका है, congestion हो चुका है. That is why people have moved to the outskirts. Okay, these are very later stages of the socio-economic development. Correct. Now in developed and developing countries, there can be different scenarios. Yes, in developed countries, okay, the population has migrated to these areas, remote areas, rural areas. They want peaceful life, etc., because they've already earned. Okay, so the stages of the urbanization would also be different or not? ये last year इसी साल पूछा हुआ क्वेश्चन है ये GS1 में. उसको क्वेश्चन को कल बता दूंगी तो आप थोड़ा सा रिलेट कर पाएंगे, राइट? बट ऑल्सो इन सम डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज देयर कैन बी ए कंसर्न of declining population in the mega city, because they will not be able to sustain the city economically. समझ में आया? People, they are migrating to the edge cities, to the satellite towns, etc. So it is difficult to sustain the city economically. नहीं, अब यही context आप समझो. This is for example the case of many areas in Japan. समझ में आया? अब वर्क अब समझ में आया? अपने क्वेश्चन का आंसर आपने खुद ही दे दिया. Neither it is sustainable economically, and also they are having the lack of the workforce. This is the case of Japan, some cities in Japan. Okay, So this can happen variably across different countries. Basically, that is the idea that I'm projecting. In developing countries, there will be different problems in the stage 4, isn't it so? Stage 5 तो अभी है नहीं ना इंडिया में, conurbations are under development. But even in stage 4, like Delhi NCR, this region is facing different challenges or not? Yes. कोई चैलेंज नहीं है अपने आसपास दिखता तुमको, चैलेंज ही चैलेंज है यहाँ पे. कंजेशन है, पोल्यूशन है, लैंड प्राइस राइज है ना, बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम्स है. माइग्रेट तो कर लेते हैं लोग, बट आर देयर इनफ जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज? नो. So basically I'm saying is different countries, different regions would be in different stages of urbanization. Many areas in India are in this stage or not. And very importantly, another problem will be some regions are metropolitan regions while the other areas are still small towns and cities. So the rates of economic development are very high around these areas, especially in case of India. Where do you see migration and population concentration? Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi, etc. Right? So urbanization has got twin consequences, both side of coin. Okay. There are positive aspects also and also repercussions, negative repercussions also. So कल पढ़ लेंगे, ठीक है, कल करेंगे, कल कुछ क्वेश्चन भी डिस्कस कर लेंगे. चलो ठीक है, that is it for today. Okay.